Marsha, it's great to be in conversation with you today about the excitement around the John Roberto Reimagining Faith in the 21st Century movement that you all have been engaged in. So I was wondering, can you help us in the Episcopal Church, because we have not done this yet, determine ways that we can connect into the process? Once we register, what could we expect?
We are so excited to be working with you on this. The Reimagining Faith Formation Initiative is a way to help congregations enter into the Reimagining Faith Formation process wherever they're at. And so what congregations can expect is that John Roberto and I will help identify for them where to start. And we will build a team. We will identify one faith formation initiative, a target audience, a target group, and help resource that. The whole idea of the initiative is to help congregations figure out one way to reimagine the way that we engage the faith, grow the faith, and then we help equip that with resources. So congregations can expect a different way to approach this process of really stopping to listen and reflect on the spiritual needs in the congregation. Pick one. And then I emphasize one because congregations tend to come into this process and get really excited and want to do 3 or 4 or 5. But if we take on too much, too quick, it will fall short. And so John and I try to help congregations keep in mind one project, one initiative, and over a 6-month to 18-month span, we form a team, we identify the initiative, we create digital components for that, and we reflect the whole way along the way. You know, the idea is that congregations can have a team, and they can have also mentor groups, and that they have direct access to John and I for troubleshooting. And so we've prepared a wide variety of tools already that are available, from assessment surveys to how to conduct focus groups, to then how do you create a season of programming. But we start at the beginning. We gather everyone, we come together, create that unified mission of we're just here to give ourselves permission to rethink one initiative and give ourselves the space to live into that in a new way. For the larger congregations, then we work with more intense focus groups. Maybe they have multiple teams if they're trying to address multiple audiences. But we stress no matter the size of the congregation, no matter how few show up on a Sunday morning, that is not the point here. That we are called to feed the sheep and not count the sheep. And so how can we help feed the sheep that are right there, right in front of us? Because we know when 2 or more are gathered, Jesus is there. So numbers do not matter. What matters is that we are passionate about growing in our faith.
That's great news. Many of our congregations also don't have children in their congregation, they don't have youth in their congregation, but this whole idea of working with John and with you doesn't mean you're redoing your children's ministry or your Christian education, does it?
No, not at all. I think it's important to stress that for congregations, this initiative is not about filling a hole that you want there right now. Congregations are lamenting that confirmation program participants are way down, so if I do this program, people will come. Not at all. This is saying for those that are there right now, all ages, all generations, whatever that is, that we help address their spiritual needs. So when we think about faith formation, we're talking about all of those ways in which we enter into our relationship with God. We might have a team that wants to reshape their worship or their prayer life or Bible study, Christian education. But mission and discipleship, of course, are an important part of that. Evangelism, stewardship. So there's no limit. So faith formation are those practices that engage our relationship with God. And so we have a lot of congregations who are looking at that millennial generation and saying, how do we engage them in mission and service? Because that's often their starting point, not coming to worship on a Sunday morning. And so, yeah, it's a full spectrum of discipleship, learning and leading wherever they're at.
Well, and it also sounds like you provide coaching all along the way, so a congregation doesn't feel like it's out there by itself. There's collaborative ways not only to work with you and with John, but with other congregations that might be working in a similar way or in a similar process. Is that correct too?
Absolutely correct. So what John and I try to do is identify the congregation's scope and what they're trying to accomplish. And then we have a portal that has website links to every one of the congregations that are part of the initiative, and where you can see what others are doing. So first and foremost, the idea is just that we're resourcing each other with our own ideas by seeing what we're doing. And then once we start to see the parallels between maybe this congregation is working on a young adult initiative, or this congregation is working on mission and service, then we let them know that each other is working on that, and so that way they can collaborate. We've also worked in a variety of ways with focus groups that their teams come together, and we might do a Skype or a GoToMeeting, and that we do a focus group for that theme or that perspective of those congregations participating in something that is similar in scope, like a mission project. So we figure out what they need along the way, but the most important thing is for the congregations to tell us what they need, and that we will help tool that. We've had congregations that were stuck literally in the digital piece. So we do a workshop, we show what it takes to kind of enhance what we're doing digitally, but they say we just are having a hard time doing a new website. We'll be hands-on, technical. Let's sit down. Let's show you how you literally go to this website. You can get a free website, set it up, walk them through step by step. Then one of our workshops is literally just teaching how do you build a website simple and easy. Drag and drop, where everyone on the team can edit. And the idea is that we're empowering the entire team. We can't stress enough that clergy and rostered leader led is going to make this fall on its face, but that we want to empower the entire team and equip them along the way.
But how much time? I know you and John have 3 workshops over a course of January through May, is it?
Yeah, January through May of the next year.
2017,
Yep.
Right.
So the idea is this. We offer 3 workshops over 18 months. We're also willing to host webinars. And the idea would be that they decide how much time they want to invest. One of the things, too, that's really important is to recognize that each team might be different, and it might take them 6 months to really even get the team identified. So maybe they missed the workshop in January, but then the workshop in May, by then they kind of have it together. John and I, prior to that, will make sure they're up to speed, they've been given the tools, that they're not coming into that feeling like we're behind the 8 ball. And so it's meeting people wherever they are at. And so, with that, it's knowing that we will coach and train the whole way along the way, but they decide how much time. What we always ask of congregations is, please don't back out because of a lack of time. Let's manage the expectations and say, okay, what is the obstacle? How can we overcome that? And often I see people walking away if they think that it's going to be too much time. They enter this process with whatever time they have, whatever gifts they have, and we'll help you, wherever you are on that spectrum, we'll help you further that a little bit. The 3 workshops are kind of those benchmark times that in between that we'll physically gather. John and I will be present, but along the way, we're a phone call away. One of the most transformative stories, I think, comes from out of our co-op. We had 4 congregations coming together to rethink the way that they actually do mission and ministry together. And they started off this process a few years ago, not in this Reimagining Faith Formation initiative, but rather going about it the way that they thought they knew how. Come together, we share resources, and we'll see how it goes. But it wasn't until they entered this process that they actually identified themselves as a spiritual renewal team, and they started to understand themselves through the lens of a biblical story, a biblical narrative, that they were able to see the transformation within themselves. And so as we've been working with them, their comments to us are, the change is within us. I understand who we are as God's children in this world, and that's changed everything. Their expectations of numbers have changed. Their expectations of how they program have changed. And it's a spirit of peace that they've articulated, that they said, I don't know why this is happening, but this is different. This is far different. And then they said, how come we didn't do this from the beginning? And sometimes I think they wouldn't have been ready. Sometimes we have to try what we know has always worked, and then when it doesn't, we're open to trying something different. But for them, you're talking about 4 shrinking congregations out of necessity, quite honestly, and from a start of scarcity in their mindset to now a space of, we're not doing this because we have to. We're doing this because through this lens of being formed in our faith, God is calling us to do more in this community, and that's why we're here. It's about God. It's reclaiming what we know to be true and spending time in the Word, in these faith practices, and allowing them to shape our lives, not our expectations of numbers and growing the church physically, but rather spiritually.
Thank you, Marsha. I believe that as the Lord has told us, we're sent out 2 by 2, and meeting you and working with you and John, that's indeed what's happened. So thank you.
You're welcome.